bio reading. And I just want to say congratulations. Congratulations to Rochester for how vital, right? Not only the social aspects, but tours and really ways to connect with the industry-based different industries and see really quality and innovation and action in different ways, and to create that relationship between your quality SMEs and of course across other practice areas and the business community and ecosystem. What a phenomenal change agent or ASQ section you are for just bringing all of this to the people. So it's things that we could emulate at the innovation technical community, as well as other sections around the world. So thank you so much, Franklin. Franklin, I think
welcome.
one of your people raised their hands. I saw some hand go up and I didn't know if you wanted to call on them.
Okay.
Before I got started.
Let's go. Let us mute everyone, and whoever had their hand up, they're more than welcome to speak.
Or chat.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll kick off then. So thank you so much, Franklin, again for the warm welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all. Again, I'm Dr. Rhonda Farrell representing the innovation technical community tonight, which really, you're going to see the scope and the scale of what innovation really brings to the table. Idea management is one way of harnessing innovation and really pairing it, marrying it up with strategy in order to create enhanced value add. And that's really what I get to chance to do every day in many different ways. In my professional life as a consultant, working with our wonderful ASQ ecosystem, working with our other community and nonprofit partners, etc. It's really all about driving the value add and creating these cohesive, collaborative opportunities to increase value and serve the various populations that we serve. Some quality, some innovation, some engineering, some cyber, some business, some entrepreneur, right? So it really depends on which section, the industry focus, the executive focus, the leadership focus, and of course the SME focus. So I hope at least one idea that I raised tonight through this idea management and strategizing superpower will resonate, and you'll be able to take a principle and put it into action tonight or tomorrow. One of the things they say about me is that I'm a positive disruptor. That just means I like to ask you all a lot of questions about how did you arrive at a conclusion? Have you considered, and what other parallel universes or learnings we can take information from and apply it to a problem or a challenge so that we can turn that into an opportunity. Part of what we do in idea management and innovation is we just learn how to think about things differently. And there's an art and a science to that. And I'd like to challenge you tonight, as you're going through this, how could you possibly think about a problem or a challenge that you're currently experiencing, which may be causing you frustration or organizational pain or inability to do something or realize or not execute at the performance level you want, and turn that into an opportunity to see how you can move from continuous improvement all the way to potentially disruptive innovation in order to solve, not only solve, but in some cases leapfrog past that to really enhance the value for your organizations, your teams, and your leaders, and yourself as a practitioner and a thought leader within those spaces. So again, I'm certified and degreed, but really what I like to bring to the table in our conversations with each and every one of you is the ability to see beyond, right? What people say is the tip of the iceberg. What they don't say and what they're not talking about is exactly where we usually need to go to understand really what's at root cause and where that springboard effect of innovation is going to prove to be most beneficial for the whole. So again, I thank Franklin and the Rochester section for inviting us here tonight, the Innovation TC, and I hope this topic serves each and every one of you. So I'll start out with what is innovation, right? People have different thoughts about innovation. It's technology. It might be process improvement. It's a center of innovation that works with stakeholders and businesses. But at its core is really these 8 core principles that we can apply to any structure in a very standardized manner. So 1, we can get value realization, right? The goal of innovation is not to innovate for innovation's purposes. It's to help the organizational unit achieve greater results and outcomes through the application and use of innovation tools, frameworks, methodologies, pilots, experiments, etc. Right? So we don't want to just move the needle on maturing an innovation program. We want to do that because the outcome and the results allow us and enable us to have and achieve increased performance and results. If that's a product, if that's a service, or if it's the processes and the enablers that we use to better serve our clients and our customers. So first is we have to go through that process of being able to envision what enhanced or amplified value realization looks like. The next is we can't apply innovation in a stale organizational culture, right? And we can't do that. We can't change the way we do business in organizations or within our family or within our teams or within our communities without changing the way we think about it. And in order for innovation to work, it's really a peer by peer. Yes, we find innovation methodologies in books. Yes, we have recipes for success. Yes, we have best practices. But at the end of the day, it's about enabling the peers to the right, left, up, and down and around us to think about, to challenge them to think about something differently. So we call that future focused leadership in action. And it's really us promulgating that thought change, that thought leadership change coherently within the organization to move us forward. The next thing is really, we then have to tie it, align it to our strategy. A, not everybody has a strategy. 2, not everybody has a great strategy. 3, they may not even be actualizing or aligning to their strategy with their mission, with their goals, with their objectives, etc. So helping them create cohesion is key to moving forward with ID management and the broader innovation agenda. 4, through the use of these tools and tips and techniques, we're going to drive a cultural change. And the cultural change at first may look like you have a battle between growth mindset, fixed mindset. I love change, I hate change. How can we harness this bridge in between these two population sets to really create and amplify the performance and the outcomes? Again, if you focus on the value realization, oftentimes we can build that bridge so that there's not internal strife and dysfunction that happens because of this innovation pushing and prodding. If we do our work correctly, we can get the future focused leadership and executives and a program and momentum in place to do it from a pull standpoint so that we minimize resistance, we maximize momentum, and we maximize performance and outcomes. What do we need to do this is we really need to put in place data related solutions and decisioning, because we can't exploit insights if we don't have a basis of quality integrated visualized data to work from. And so part of innovation is helping you get your technological and process enablers in place to support ID management and innovation. The next is managing uncertainty. And what that's really looking at is how can we harden and mature our risk methodologies, our risk management, our risk analysis as we roll out these different types of programs under the auspices of innovation. But in reality, harnessing idea management. You'll see that in a couple slides, but I just want to say risk is and the risk life cycle is a huge part of informing a larger innovation program. Adaptable structures just means that we're able to be agile and flexible. Again, innovation is a people and process and technology, and we need to wrap structure around that only to the point where we don't disable the continual momentum, right? So not too much to create constraints or resistance, not too little so that we can't really achieve the strategic outcomes and the value that we're ultimately seeking. So we have to find that mix of enablers, that mix of process maturity, that mix of people maturity, that mix of the right technological enablers for the stage of innovation maturation that we're in. And we'll see how we can harness this innovation funnel, if you will, which is idea management in action. And you can see how we scale up and down according to where we're at in that funnel. And then last is the systems approach, right? So all that means is we need to be thinking about it holistically, right? Not just through one lens of one executive leader in one part of the organization. Innovation is a cross-cutter. Innovation is cross-functional. Innovation is collaborative. Innovation is about co-creation. And the more we can engage across, up, down, wherever they are in the globe, the better outcomes from an innovation perspective and an idea management perspective we're going to get. So is there any questions, comments, or somebody wants to touch upon any of these 8 core principles before we move forward? Okay, seeing nothing in the chat, I'm going to move forward. So I'm going to introduce you to idea management and think about idea management as an innovation funnel. It can be very structured, it can be semi-structured, it can be informal. It really depends on the organization and how it wants to design the program. Again, our outcomes of this is really enhanced value realization internally as well as externally. So when we're designing, when we're thinking about our innovation program and we're putting in place idea management as an enabler to greater amounts of innovation, we need to be thinking about this funnel. We need to be thinking about how are we going to collect ideas? How are we going to analyze ideas? What other sources of organizational intelligence do we need to be able to make an informed choice? How do we then layer on our strategy, our mission, our values, our goals, our objectives? How do we look at the ecosystem that we're operating within as organizations, as teams, where our customers are, where our clients are, what we're doing globally? Not only that, but what are the different factors that are enabling or constraining our potential innovation success? And so idea management and the funnel I'll show you in a moment really helps us to drive from collection through to decisioning into execution and actioning on a continual basis so that we're not using this as a one and done type of operation to enhance our value once, but we're putting in place iteratively more mature processes, more mature teams, more mature practices so that we can actually automate this and do this continually if we design it as such upfront. You and the leaders and the teams that we work with really decide how robust an operation do I want to field the first time through? Do I have a pilot client? Do I have a pilot customer? Do I have a pilot initiative internally that I want to try this out on first to see how well it works, to validate the processes and practices, and see how far we can move the needle before we go external to serve our clients and our customers? So it really depends on the risk appetite of the leaders and the executives championing this, the culture of the organization. We're structuring this process within, and the risk appetite and appetite for change and for innovation of our partners and our external entities, our customers and our clients. We have to take all those into consideration, weight them before we can decide how we want to design those very early stages for maximum impact. So in a nutshell, idea management is just a structured process. You see the funnel before you, but it's to create incremental value at each stage, allow us to ascertain if we're on track or not on track, and be able to move forward. So this would be where we can incorporate some of our analytics, AI and ML. Perfect place to be able to create and harness business intelligence tools, other types of data feeds, so that we can create intelligence very early in the process and then continue to hone and refine and reflect the more that we can gather our insights, our other internal and external intelligence, and then overlay that with our risk constructs. So great place to put in place technology enablers, great place to put in place processes and practices, and a great place to gain access to early value indicators that will help you then later, when you layered on these later stages, understand how far and how fast you can actually probably go through implementation. So organizations exist to put this idea management into place through a sequence of solution modules. But we're really going to talk about it from a process so that you can see how there's many technologies that can serve you and many processes and practices that you may already have in your organization today that you can leverage and harness to really mature your innovation practices and to drive value, but through the lens of idea management. So if we look at the crux and the core of idea management, it's about harnessing the value, the expertise, the ideas, and the perspectives of the whole of the organization. You know, if we look back a couple decades, we did this. We did this with TQM. We did this with performance excellence. We did this through organizational excellence. We did this through other quality related constructs. So organizations know how to do this, leaders know how to do this, community entities know how to do this. We are repackaging, we're restructuring, we're re-engineering to move not only from the people, but through the automation of the collection process, the analysis process, the maturity and the robustness which we can apply these tools to gain access to intelligence that maybe when we used a pure people and a less technology enabled process or enablers, we couldn't reach those insights. We couldn't reach that intelligence without a lot of extra work and cost and time. Now, if we design our data and our architecture in such a way as to get continuous feeds and to apply these new analytical tools, we will have basically a constant capability of being able to create roadmaps, dashboards for executives, our leaders, and our practitioners to leverage. So environmental scanning, this happens every day, right? RSS feeds, news feeds, other quality research and reports. There's nothing stopping us from organizational entities, SMEs, practitioners, executives from harnessing, and we harness this all the time, right? All we're doing here is looking for ways that we can create an automated feed so that it enables you as an executive, a leader, and a SME to scale at a higher level, because that's the crux of what we're doing. We're gathering inputs, we're gathering factor analysis, we're gathering news, we're gathering trends so that we can better understand our ecosystem, so that when we go to apply our strategy, when we go to analyze the ideas that we have been put forth, when we go to apply our scarce resourcing and funding, when we go to update our mix of products and services and other enablers that we want to put forth in an innovation roadmap, we can do that with some level of assurity that what the information we're operating on is A, current, 2, relevant, and 3, has been risk managed so that we know that we're really able to heighten the value that's coming out of that. And so we look at this through the lens of a historic strategy, and the way that this particular organization, Itonics, does this is by asking the questions that you see at the bottom. How effective is the organization at scanning and scouting? How does it apply strategic foresight? How does it create continuous funnels of new ideas? And how does it rack and stack options for investment and implementation purposes? That's 4 areas, but the 3 questions they ask is where to play, how to win, what to execute. But the 4 questions with regard to our strategic framework says how we have to approach this, right? So if we were to look at this as an end-to-end process that we were putting in place in an organization, we have to understand what's the data feeds for scanning and scouting. How can we overlay with our strategy, with our goals, with our objectives, with our mission, with our current initiatives, even to the point of overlaying our existing metrics, measurements, and targets, because that's going to help us understand better our as-is state so that we can move to our to-be state. And so if we look at next steps, not only in addition to environmental scanning, but the startup scanning, I'll put that out to the question, to the attendees. If you were to think about innovation and you were to think about idea management as a continual funnel, why would startup scanning or scouting be important to you? And what knowledge do you think you could get out of that? Do we have any brave souls that want to chat their answers in? Well, I'm not seeing any, there we go, response. Yeah, so, right. So what is, thank you. Watching for risks and opportunities, exactly. Respond to the market quicker, exactly. So if we look at startups, right? Startups are an early indicator of where a technological roadmap is going, oftentimes 20, 30, 50 years, right? So that pre-nascent startup, patent mining, patent intelligence, startup, right, is where is the money flowing? Where is the technology growing from, sprouting from, integrating within, right? So that gives us a huge amount of business intelligence to drive our innovation forward. If nothing, not even if we're going to offer a product and or service, but what if one of the things our organization offered was intelligence, right? So startup scouting is a great way to glean intelligence for reporting, et cetera, right? And a great way to do early investing as well. The other aspects we want to look at is really this market pull and technology push. And just exactly what you said. Markets, you're looking for where are the markets going? What level of maturity are they in? So, right, paralleling the innovation life cycle, right? So early adoption, et cetera, right? We're going to be looking at that startup scouting so that we can better plot along that lines. And then we're going to be looking at publications, competitors, trends, technologies, and also what is our clients, not only what our clients are doing, but what our clients and customers say they want to do and haven't been able to execute to. And then we put in place trends, analysis and technology analysis. And all that's important. Why? Because it allows you to do better horizon scanning, right? Horizon scanning is how ready is our organization to take on change opportunities, innovation opportunities, or how well postured are we against potential threats, right? And so if we look at it in that balanced manner, that's where we're really able to tie in our risk management with our opportunities. The next thing, again, if we look at this from a process standpoint, is really overlaying our strategic roadmap, our foresight, right? So harnessing this where to play elements, putting it into and applying it to our strategic roadmap gives us our, in some cases, our opportunity space, right? It's the beginning of our capability gap analysis. It's the beginning of our opportunity analysis. And so out of that, we can do scenario planning, we can look at opportunity, we can look at, and we can implement via challenges. But I want to drive the strategic foresight area home to everyone, because this is really where organizations can benefit through harnessing innovation tools, innovation methodologies to understand the forcing functions, right? We want to look at drivers. We want to look at constraints. We want to be able to look at the business intelligence. When we want to look at that arc of maturation that we get from some of these early scanning and scouting intelligence. And then we want to be able to apply that knowledge to our organization, right? Not only to our current organizational construct, but it allows us to think through, do we need to be thinking about changing our business model? Do we need to be thinking about changing up our product line? Do we need to be thinking about changing up the services we offer? Do we need to be thinking about different ways we can partner? Do we need to be thinking about how we can leverage what would seem to be a competitor for collaboration purposes, because we can get greater value realization results and outcomes from that, right? So we want to really be able to create a cohesive decision matrix here that allows us to harness the structured and unstructured data we're capturing to create intelligence that's actionable based on our strategy, based on our horizon planning, based on our current state, and based on where we've said we want to do strategic investments at before, right? And then we look at how can we then work to operationalize that, right? And how can we work to actualize and execute on that? Well, first we have to understand what is the opportunity space from that, right? Some of the strategic framework application and strategic tools will get us to a place where we can understand what our enablers are, what our constrainers are, but it doesn't always get us to what the opportunity space is, right? So sometimes we need to bring practitioners from parallel industries. We need to be looking at research from parallel studies. We need to be bringing in innovators to your organization to help your organization kind of think outside its current business model, product and service makeup box, if you will, right? Sometimes we can do that very constructively through an innovation challenge, through an ecosystem challenge, through a partner challenge too. And what we're really looking at doing is applying some of these scenarios that our strategic tools showed had potential promise, so that then we can then spec it out a little bit from a course of action analysis of alternatives. What will it take from a resourcing standpoint to get us there? What do we need? Do we even have enough information to move forward with the potential plan? Or do we really need to go through this innovation challenge process to create a set of ideas on the way forward? And that's really the value of this idea management funnel. We want to perhaps move from a domestic to international stage of our organization. We may want to 10x or 100x our revenue base. We may want to grow into a multinational. We may wish to innovate into a new product line we've never worked with. We can't go into that cold just with the intelligence and just with the strategic plan. We need to work on this idea management through the lens of our business outcome scenarios to be able to get there. A lot of organizations, especially in the consulting field, really look at how can we collect ideas, and we don't have to just collect ideas internally through the challenges. Part of idea management is recognizing where we can source ideas from. All of that intelligence you see to the far left, fair game for an idea within our challenges, right? We want to bring something forward if it's applicable to the scenario, the business scenarios we've outlined as an outcome that we're seeking. Is understanding your target customer base and their unmet needs of where to play. So yes, if you see, oftentimes it's really in this line of where to play and how to win. When you look at that opportunity spaces, right? Customer base and unmet needs play within the corporate environment under where to play, but it also plays into how to win on the opportunity space. So great question. So I think, right, I think customers really what you see, corporate environment and then scenarios and opportunity space. It's all going to be applied, right? And great question, because sometimes the intelligence and sometimes our strategic foresight and the strategic tools is going to help us identify that our current customer base, our current client base is suboptimal, right? You either have to grow new clients in a new market or in a new population type that we haven't served before. And we may well need to retire some of our old customers and clients in order to execute and amplify the value and the results that we're attempting to achieve. So that intelligence really helps inform the ideal customer and client base we want to be working with in our to be organizational state. And the idea management funnel that we use will help us solidify what that looks like. So part where to play, part how to win. Now, again, idea management, not only can we use our own internal resources through an internal challenge, we can harness the data that we collected in this where to play state, and we can collect data from the ecosystem writ large. There's, basically our organizations and our world is swimming in relevant data that if we knew to ask the question in a different way, we can collect and harness and gain great insight. So that's the art and the science to idea management. Harness your technological tools, apply a robust idea management process, again, using Itonics, using other corporate constructs that have expertise in this area, and your consulting partners that enable you to use your executive base, use your leadership base, use your workforce to drive that funnel and the decision analytics that gets overlaid on top of that. Because at the end of the how to win is really the beginnings of an innovation roadmap, right? What we want to do is look at what harnessing the intelligence that we collected and analyzed, applying idea management to the opportunities and the scenarios within our challenge space. What were our findings? How are we racking and stacking what we can potentially do? What type of further funding and economic support do we need? And then also, what else do we have to do within our organization to be able to achieve that future state? Do we need expertise in different areas? Do we need to expand, or do we need to contract our workforce or refactor our workforce? Do we need to put in place different technological and process enablers? Again, do we need to partner? Do we need to do something else before we move into that final road mapping, innovation road mapping stage to put it into action, right? So this is really where we're going to learn how to qualify what's coming out of that idea management funnel, if you will, with a further refining decision matrix with regard to funding, with regard to resourcing, with regard to actioning against our current state, and then an understanding of what we have to do to be able to reach the future state of our organization and the future state of our products and or services that we now know that we need to execute towards. So again, where to play, the intelligence, how to win, application of the intelligence with our own ideation mechanisms, in between how to win, how to execute a decision matrix with weighting, with automation, so that you can really help your executives, leaders, and workforce move to a very structured innovation road mapping phase. This does not have to be difficult, as it doesn't even have to be formal. This has been done in many different organizations with whiteboards, with stickies, with a graphic artist helping to visualize the innovation life cycle. It's been done internally with consulting firms and others to have a internal Shark Tank, to have an internal innovation challenge, to have a small amount of seed funding go towards a pilot, so that you can, again, work the initiative internally, see if you can get it to scale, so that you can then apply the learnings externally. We have a question come in the chat. Which phase is most often underrepresented? Terry Callahan. Did you want Callahan? Yes? You want to talk to us?
Nope, I was just going to read it for you.
Thank you. Okay, so which phase is often underrepresented by an organization? Where is more focus typically needed? So I think if you look at this, I'm going to say all three, right? It's not a simple, we can't collect and harness intelligence. It's not only a problem there, right? The opportunity space and the challenges and the constraints we face are all across this funnel. Oftentimes, if you look at startups and entrepreneurs, don't have the resources, perhaps don't know where to look to get the robust scanning. They don't know where the sources of information are for patent intelligence and startup scanning. They don't necessarily know where the data sources are for technological and other ecosystem trends using Pestle. They don't know. They may not even have a very robust strategy. They don't know how to marry their strategy with the intelligence to basically harness the intelligence to help them understand how their organization has to morph. They may not have solutions or support internal or a culture, or even have their value realization and their outcomes and the results envisioned and documented with some level of assurity, right? They may not have a decision construct to be able to make sense of the ideas and the basically the internal proposals that could help them ascend to the next level in their products and services or internally scale. And they may not know how to create an innovation roadmap and execute an action and fund that, right? So there's really an opportunity across all these stages, where to play, how to win, and what to execute to, again, harness the data and intelligence that exists internally and externally, apply the strategic tools, harness solutions or other internal initiatives to help you build this constant innovation and idea management funnel, and then apply some level of robust decisioning, including risk management and risk analysis, to create the courses of actions and analysis to inform the innovation roadmap. So I think there's no shortage of opportunity to scale, to innovate in this where to play area, to harness our data and build up stronger practices and processes. And even up front of that is getting your own executives and leaders and having a cultural mindset so they're willing to take some of these on. That so even if they're a big traditional organization that may not have an innovation center of excellence, that may not have stood up a small startup to help them innovate and incubate new ideas, a skunk works, if you will, right? You can help them achieve that so that they become more agile, more flexible, more innovative, even if it's the advocacy and champion of one executive, right? One executive that has some funding, that's willing to put their reputation on the line a little bit, right? To help you start to put this in place. So I hope that served you from a big picture standpoint. I hope that served you from an understanding of now, where can you look for information and intelligence that you can apply to your organization. It's not something you build out overnight, right? But it's by understanding the methodology and the puzzle pieces, you can begin to put them in place to help you, again, reach that amplified value, reach the amplified results, reach the amplified outcomes. And it's really through a willingness to pilot and experiment and innovate internally before you then turn your sights to your client and your customer base in full, right? You can pull that information just like our attendees say, right? What is their unmet needs? Huge part of this puzzle, but we don't necessarily have to pilot that to begin with, right? We need to pilot something that's a quick win that will help us gain momentum, that will help us gain more funding, that will help us gain more champions and advocates so that we can mature the processes and the practices to then take on greater client and customer challenges. So the next is really reshaping the future, right? And so really at the end of this first part of where to play is that strategic foresight. And it's really all about gap analysis. Gap analysis is in our capabilities, gap analysis in our innovation program, gap analysis in our culture, gap analysis in our processes and practices, gap analysis for our product and service lines and or our business models that we're harnessing to deliver our expertise and our value. So we want to look at the goals out of this stage. We want to look at the approach, and then we want to look at the methodologies. I'm not going to read those to you, but it's a structured approach to understanding at the beginning, what do you want the outcomes to be in that strategic foresight part of the process, and then harnessing the methods and the approach to help you have realization of the intelligence at the data and intelligence at the level that you need to then overlay your strategic framework, your goals, objectives, and other things to be able to make sense out of that. the next is really identifying the value add of those capability gaps, right? So our how to win, and it's all about deriving value, right? We wouldn't even need to undertake these practice and process changes, put in place technological enablers, try different types of solutions like MI and AI and ML, and apply risk methodologies and other technology enablers if we didn't want to enhance the outcomes that our customers and clients were achieving, and if we didn't want to enhance what we were the results we're able to achieve, either revenue, impact through our products and our services, through mergers and acquisitions, through the different business models, through our partnering constructs, et cetera, right? So we have to find the right approach for our level of maturation of an organization and the stage of maturation of innovation for our organization. And we need to look at the outcomes that initially we want to achieve, and then over time, where do we want to grow and mature on our outcomes as we iteratively work through these processes and these practices. So this is a great place to be in, right? Because you're doing your envisioning on your value, you're harnessing the intelligence and the data to better understand your capability gaps, you are bringing in your customer and your client scenarios, and you're really looking at the funding, the investment, you're putting in place some robust dashboarding, visualizations, and other scenario modeling to help you understand what's in the realm of possible to move forward with. And then lastly is what to execute. So here we're really talking about the creation of an innovation roadmap, very dedicated to your organizations, not a best practice recipe that you can lift and shift to every other like organization, right? We're harnessing our data, we're harnessing our intelligence, we're harnessing our capability gaps, we're harnessing our client and customer needs. Not that you can't learn from your competition in those areas, but our execution methodology is going to be unique to our organizational phase, our time horizon, our investment model, and our value maturation arc that we put into place. And so it really enables us to create this end-to-end model where if we can automate it, right, we have a continuous funnel of value add opportunities, either continuous innovation or even to the scale of disruptive innovations that we can then put forth for potential funding, investment, and actioning at any point in time. And so consulting organizations, other organizations that are very mature in this area, do this in a very automated fashion. Part of their quarterly board series, executive series is looking where they're at, what have they learned, has our investment the intended investment portfolio shifted, were we able to scale exponentially on the results that we're achieving and the value that we're creating, right? So not only do we have this, we're going to overlay that with our performance management system, with our KPIs, with our OKRs, with our metrics, our management, and our targets. And then we're going to go back to good old, did we hit, is actual versus expected? Did we hit our marks? Are we above and are we below? And given those scenarios, we pivot accordingly. So again, this is a model that helps you shorten and make more efficient the innovation cycle in order to achieve heightened outcomes and results. What I'd like to do in the last couple of minutes that we have available to talk to you all is perhaps one or two brave souls will pipe up and say, now that we've learned about the innovation principles, now that we've learned about idea management and the place it plays within a larger innovation program, where might you see the greatest benefit be for your organization? Or what's one piece you think you might want to try and leverage in the near term?
I can speak on behalf of my company. The company that I work for is 45 years old, and I've got a number of products that are out in the marketplace. Uh, but I think within the last decade, they haven't had an introduction of a new product.
Very true.
And I love the Shark Tank philosophy that you had, as
Thank you.
well as other ideas for pulling ideas from the grassroots, let's just say.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I think could lend some re to re-energize our organization.
Yes, so what I heard from you, Franklin, is we have a portfolio of products and services that maybe bears re-examination from a portfolio standpoint, right? What is the ROI for each of those? What is the investment? Are we getting the ROI and the value add and the results that we want for each of them? And is it time for us to think about rebalancing that portfolio in a different way and creating an innovation pipeline for sustainability in the long term? Thank you,
Absolutely.
Franklin. Yeah. Do we have any other brave souls that want to speak up before we pass it back to Franklin for closing? Okay, Franklin, I think it's all yours, sir. Again, thank you for the opportunity. We are so very grateful for each and every one of you. We invite you to learn more about the ASQ Innovation Technical Communities, and we introduce to you our wonderful ASQ Innovation Technical Community Chair, Ms. Rebecca Mott. You can reach her at rhmott@tba.gov. She would love to answer any questions you might have about the organization and or partner with you as a speaker or in other upcoming events. Thank you so much, Franklin, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. This was a riveting and thought-provoking talk, especially for me, and I know a number of others. It does start to get the juices flowing and saying, hey, we don't have to be stagnant. We can move on and we can grow. So it really did a lot for me, and I'm speaking for others, but I think that it's probably done the same for them. I'd like to thank you again, sincerely from the RASQ Rochester community, and down the line, welcome you back if you've got other topics that you would like to share. And I just want to say good evening to all of our folks. And we will have another conversation next month. We will be talking with Grace Duffy, and she'll be talking about modular Kaizen, applied tools for lean. And again, I want to thank Dr. Rhonda Farrell for her riveting talk about just innovation itself. So thank you. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. And I hope to see you all very soon.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.